The criminals know this. The criminals know this. So that's you need antivirus just like you need seatbelts in your car, but you also need to comply with rules of the road. You need to not go too fast. You need to stop at stoplights and things like that. And that's what we're talking about with compliance and security. So we put that security stack on that I just referred to that has EDR and ADR and all those other things. I'm just going to show it to you real quickly again. This stack is everything below antivirus, everything that is on the machine itself that's looking for behavior that a virus may be trying to move around in your machine that you don't know you have. I know the adage, right? It's not if you get hacked, it's when you get hacked. That's an old adage. It's not if you get hacked or when you get hacked. It's you might already know you're hacked. You might already be hacked and you just don't know it. Viruses are just software. And now, instead of just getting the software, the virus, and hey, something's going wrong with my machine, now the criminals say, okay, hang out there for a few weeks. Let's learn about these people. So these other pieces of that security stack are designed to figure out if something's hanging out in your system that we could take, that we could do remediation on and prevent it from blowing up on your system. That's why I say antivirus is not enough. You need the security stack as well. So these are each pieces of that security stack. Are they going to get a copy of this PowerPoint, Cynthia?
They should. Yep.
Okay, so if you have any questions, I put my email address in the chat. So if you have any questions, I'm not saying you have to use this. I'm just saying if you have any questions and you're like, what's an MDR? Well, just email me. I'll respond. I'll explain why you have it or why you should have it and what it's necessary for. Or if your IT guy or external company is saying, hey, we use this. Is this compatible with what Conrad said? Just email me. I'll tell you. It's not a big deal. So don't be a victim. How do you prevent being a victim? I know some of this stuff you've heard. Use strong passwords. Now, some people today are saying, well, with multi-factor authentication, I don't need passwords. That's not true. Just because you have an airbag doesn't mean you don't need seatbelts. Just because you have an airbag or anti-lock brakes doesn't mean you don't need the other safety pieces of your vehicle. You still need to change your passwords, right? There's 83% of viruses happen because of bad passwords. So how do we check that? We check the dark web. We scan the dark web. If your name appeared on the dark web today and it wasn't there yesterday, chances are that password has been compromised and we're going to let you know, hey, you need to change that password and don't ever use it again. Don't use Red Sox 1 and change it to Red Sox 2 because you've basically weakened that password because the criminals are already figuring it out. And it's not a one-to-one correlation. It's not one criminal to you. Criminal writes a code and it's one criminal to 500 people. That code is going out there trying to infect 500 people at a time. So don't think of it as I've got to protect myself against one person. That's not true. It's your behavior that's going to help make you a stronger cyber expert, right? And the weakest link in cybercrime is us. I'd say you, but I'm a weak link too, right? People are the weakest link. Criminals already have all the other equipment, all the other stuff. They just need to be able to get by you. So never insert an unknown USB stick. What does that mean? So if you're in business and there's a USB stick or a client brings in a USB stick, make sure that it's encrypted and make sure that you know that they know that that came directly from their machine to you, right? Someone sends you a USB stick, check this out, look at this. That's as bad as clicking on a link. You don't know what's in that USB. A matter of fact, your systems should be set that if you put a USB stick into your system, it will not automatically turn on. You would have to go actually turn it on, which is a level of security that we provide to all our clients. Use VPNs, virtual private networks on public Wi-Fi. I'm going to take that a step further. Don't use public Wi-Fi, right? You don't know if someone's sitting in that Starbucks and has a program that is able, like a keylogger, that logs everything that you type. You don't know it. You won't see it, but they'll see it. I was at an event in DC with the FBI. There were 300 IT people in that room, and all of a sudden, pictures of houses started showing up on the screen. It was totally out of context. And the FBI agent said, one of the guys in the crowd said, hey, that house looks like my house. And he said, it is your house, Mr. Wilson. He said, I looked He said, I bet you all think that because I'm at the FBI, I use my power at the FBI to get the information on you. And we're all like, yeah, that's what we think. He said, no, I looked at the registration. I just randomly picked someone and I went to social media and I learned all about you. And I found out that you were an alumni of New York University. And I sent you an email I created that looked just like it came from New York University. And I asked you for your login information to Microsoft. And since you thought it was legit, you gave it to me and I became you. And I can shut off your gas to your house. I can shut off your water. I can shut off your cell phones. So you've got to be very conscious on what you're doing and when you're logging into public Wi-Fi's. And the reason I'm bringing that up is because he also started going back into people's phones, and people are like, how can he get into our phones? He made the hotspot Delta, whatever the Delta Skyline um, hotspot is, and JetBlue, fly, fly, Flywire or something like that. So everybody who flew to DC that day took either a Delta or JetBlue, or most of them. When they walked in, it automatically connected, didn't ask for a password, and now he had access to our phone. So it's creative things like that that the criminal's using that you need to be aware of, right? And this brings me to, well, first of all, this is big. Think before clicking. Don't click on attachments. Just don't. You get an attachment in an email, even I don't care if it comes from me. Now, obviously, if it's getting to a Zoom site, that's something different because it's within Zoom. But if you get a random um, um, link in an email, just go to the browser and type in that link. Don't type it in, don't copy it, just type it in, right? And if it takes you to where you're supposed to go, then you're safe. And if it doesn't, now you realize, wow, that was not a good thing, right? So just be cautious on clicking on links. So because you are the weakest link. They have all the firewalls, they have all the antivirus, they being the criminals. What they've got to get by is you. And if you aren't in tune, if you're not staying up on what the latest types of hacks are, um, then you could fall victim. I shouldn't even say could, you probably will fall victim to those hacks. Text messages. Be careful. It might look like it came from the boss or managing partner, but does it make sense? We had an employee at a CPA firm just started, got a text message from the criminal, said it was from the managing partner. It looked like it was from the managing partner, asked him to go down to Best Buy, buy $2,000 worth of credit cards and scrape off the back and give them the code. Now, he didn't scrape the silver off the back to give them the code. He ended up telling the administrator, and they ended up buying them and giving them out as bonuses. My point is, does the text message, does the email make sense? So, TA compliance portal, these are some of the things that we do. You don't have to use our portal. It's just that you have to have certain things in place, like simulated phishing. When you're getting cyber insurance, they're going to ask, are you being trained? Right? Well, what's that mean? What does training mean? Like, no one's calling me every day and taking me to school. It means, do you do simulated phishing? That's training. Do you have articles and videos that your provider is giving you at least on a monthly basis where you have a few to read? I'm not talking 20-minute videos. I'm talking a 2-minute video that says, hey, this is what's happening out there. Be aware of this, right? When you get that email that says, I want to change my payroll banking information, and it looks just like it came from your employee. If you have to move money or if you're asked for personal identifiable information, you got to double check. You got to make a phone call. You've got to call those people. It's not enough just to get an email because that's the easiest way for them to scam. Security training such as cybersecurity and phishing courses. If you don't have that, if you're a smaller company and you want to get something like that, talk to your insurance provider. A lot of times they'll have free monthly security blogs or things like that. That's training. That'll help you, right? Quarterly training and discussions. If you're a bigger firm, you should have that. Tabletop exercises. A tabletop exercise helps you to understand how to strengthen your incident response plan. So if there's an incident, you should have a policy that says, hey, if there's an incident, this is what we're going to do, right? Just like when you hire somebody, these are the steps we take to get them onboarded, right? Or we have a new client, these are the steps we take. You should have the same thing as if an incident occurs. What's that mean? If CryptoLocker hits your network and you can't access any of your files, if someone logs into your Microsoft 365 account, creates a fake mailbox that you don't see because you'd only see it if you went up to the cloud portal of Microsoft 365, and they end up talking to your client and they end up sending them an invoice for $200 or $2,000, or we had an incident where it was somewhere around 300,000 and they paid it because they thought it came from you, because in essence it did come from you. They were in your mailbox. So if you don't know how to check that, or you have your IT person check that, you should. There are products out there that help do that for very cheap monthly fees. Policies in place. You need policies. You need a written information security program. Oh yeah, but I don't have any personal identifiable information. Do you have employees? Yes, I have two. Well, then you have PII because you have their PII in order to pay them, in order to give that to the payroll company. Or if you use Intuit, you've got to have that information to pay them. Or if you provide them with health insurance, or if you provide them with a 401k, you have personal identifiable information. So therefore, that has to have a policy around it on how you're going to protect it. It's required by all the regulation, uh, all the regulatory agencies out there. 201 CMR 17 is Massachusetts regulatory agency, or that's the law. That's 93H is the law. 201 CMR 17 is the interpretation of it. You can Google either one of those. You're going to see it in this PowerPoint. That's where it really all began to say, hey, not only do I want the residents of Massachusetts to be protected by us making sure that the people holding that personal identifiable information are doing the right thing. We want them to try to prevent the breach. So we want them to put things in place to prevent it, and we want them to write it into a written information security program. From here forward, I'll just call it a WISP, that identify what steps they're taking to prevent that information from being lost. Sounds like a good idea, and it was a great idea. A matter of fact, most states have used Massachusetts 201 CMR 17 to create their own personal identifiable information rules and regulations. And then if you are at all in finance, you are required most likely to comply with the latest rules of the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission, strengthened the rules of the Gramm-Leach-Bliley Act, which was created in 2001 for banks because they were gathering everybody's personal information, and there was no rhyme or reason on how they had to protect that. So Gramm-Leach-Bliley Act came in and said, if you're a bank, this is how you protect that personal information. These are the steps we want you to take. And in June 9th, 2024, the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission, included 13 other industries and said, if you do these behaviors, you have to, you are subject to the FTC. Automobile dealerships, CPA firms, if you do mortgages, anything like that, and you can Google it, the 13 industries will be there. Then you have to comply, which means you have to have a written information security program. You have to have qualified people to help you understand how to implement it. You have to have penetration testing to your network. And there's a plethora of other things. If you Google it, you'll see it. Awareness training we just talked about. We use a portal. Insurance agencies are a place to find some free training. I would absolutely ask my insurance agent, since they're the ones asking you to fill out these forms, where can I get training so that I can check the box that said, yes, we're taking this seriously and we're getting trained. And they usually have something. Might not be the best, but at least it's something. I'm not saying it's bad. I don't know all the insurance agencies and how they all work, but tips for spotting and avoiding phishing emails. Some of this is going to seem really basic, but when you're busy, and I think we all have busy times. I came from the CPA world. We take care of a lot of CPAs. You can understand when we're busy. But retail in Massachusetts has their busy time, right? Different travel agencies and resorts and things have their busy time. That's when the criminal is going to reach to you. That's when they're going to try to attack you. They know when you have busy times. And when we're busy, that's when we're more prone to make a mistake or overlook something. So appear to come from a trusted source. Hover the mouse over the sender's address. Is the email address different? That's a very simple process. If it looks like it came from a trusted source, take your mouse and just hover it over the name of the email. If it's a cloaked email, one that's fake, it will show up over the hovering. It'll show you the actual email address. If those two don't match, you got a problem. Consider the greeting. Trusted emails will address you by name. They're not going to send out to this entire package that, hey, sir, or hey, ma'am, or hey, you. If I know you, I'm going to address you, right? I'm going to say, hey, Cynthia, you know, et cetera. Hey, Allison, right? So if they don't, that's a point of suspicion. Inspect the spelling, the email's domain name. Is it correct? Is that domain name? Now, obviously, you're not doing this just when somebody that you know sent you an email. You're doing this if they sent you an attachment. Click on this. Is that really coming from that person? That's when it's going to have a red flag for you to check. Enter text for spelling and grammar. I'm going to show you an example. Checking for misspelling, such as an R next to an N, could easily mimic an M, like in Microsoft. See how that's an RN, not an M, right? Amazon. See that? I just put a bunch of samples. Does the email ask you to take action? That asks for personal identifiable information or money or login information. If you're asked for money or PII, personal identifiable information, or even more importantly, if you're subject to HIPAA or you're a business associate of somebody who is subject to HIPAA and you have being asked for protected health information, which protected health information. We're going to call it all PII just for the simplicity of it. But protected health information has 18 criteria. PII has usually 6 to 8, right? Well, what do you mean by that? Well, protected health information could go down to what your license plate is. And you can Google it. I hope, I don't know if I put it in here, but if you want it, I have the criteria. I can send it to you. But it goes down to 18 different criteria. Why? Because if you've had a health issue, maybe a mental health issue in the past, and you're all cleared and everything's great, they don't want that information slipping out because it could prevent you from getting employed, et cetera. So they're very cautious with protected health information. It's treated very similarly, so we're going to just call it PII. Does the email ask you to take action? If it does, you've got to question it. And how do you answer that question? You pick up the phone, right? You call that person. And don't respond to that email. Create a new email. Respond from a different email address. Go to your Google address and say, hey, Joe, did you mean to send this to me? No, I didn't. Because why? Even if it really came from Joe, you don't know if Joe was hacked. You have no idea, right? Hey, click on this attachment. It's my W-2. You're going to click on it. But you weren't expecting that email, so you should double check before you do. Look for links and attachments and look for mistakes. So I'm going to show you an example of that. Okay, can you spot the difference? Obviously, you're not, this isn't a shout out, so I'm just going to tell you where the differences are. Here's that RN. Here's what it should really look like, right? Verify your account. We detected some unusual activity about a recent sign in to Microsoft account. You might be signing in from a new location. They're not going to ask you to provide, Microsoft will never ask you to provide account information. We had a client that was trying to log in Vegas, and they're a big CPA firm, and they take care of back office stuff. So they'll write checks for some very high net worth clients. They were asked to verify their login by them asking for the Microsoft credentials. The person thought, well, I'm in Vegas, maybe they're looking for stronger security. So this person provided the Microsoft credentials, and then they were asked for the multi-factor authentication code that comes to your phone, usually, or maybe to your email. And the criminal asked for it, and they gave it. And so they ended up losing somewhere around $1.5 million over the course of 18 months. It was a big issue. But that goes back to training, right? If you know, no, Microsoft's never going to ask me for my login credentials. IRS is never going to send me something that I've got to log into. It's going to say, go log in. It's not going to say, click here to log in, right? Just another quick example, UPS. Oh, here's your package from UPS. Click here to track it. We had a client do that, and they clicked it. They got ransomware, and I asked them, I said, why did you click that? I wanted to know what it was. I said, had you ordered anything? Nope. So it didn't make sense to click it. And yet I know in the infancy of cybercrime, it's easy to get hoodwinked into it. And we're kind of past that. But I'll tell you, it's coming back. Those things are effective, and they keep using them. Just like if your marketing's effective, you're going to keep doing that marketing because it's effective. And that's what the criminals do. 2025 cybercrime, I predicted it to be $11 trillion all in costs with penalties and what you have to pay the criminal and loss of business and insurance, et cetera. It was 10.5 trillion in 2025, and it's going to go to 20 trillion in the next 5 years. And it is not going to get there unless somebody clicks on links that they shouldn't, doesn't change their password. The things I'm telling you to do are ways to prevent getting hit. Can I guarantee 100%? No, I can't. I cannot guarantee 100% that you won't get hit. All I can tell you is we're putting the seat belts on, we've got the airbags, we've got anti-lock brakes. The car is as safe as I can get it to you. If you go 900 miles an hour down the road and slam into a wall, I can't prevent you from dying, right? So this is what I was pointing out. Here's the fake Microsoft. Urgent, unusual. But if it says urgent, you got to start throwing up red flags. That doesn't make sense. Notice the grammar, the Y, the U and spelled incorrectly. Right? There should be a capital. There's a space in the comma. Calendar, and then the URL is wrong. Account.live.com, reset password. Again, they will never ask you to do that.
Conrad,
Yes.
it's also HTTP and there's no S. Is that a
But
flag
that's
these
because
days?
HTTP is a protocol, and if you had S there, that means it's a secure protocol, right? So
Right.
you always see the little lock down at the bottom of some websites when you go to
Mhm.
HTTP. Your website, if you're doing business, should be verified that it's HTTPS. That's a great point, Allison. But there's a lot of websites that are still valid that don't have that. It's just registering it. I think it costs like $10 for 5 years. It's like crazy inexpensive. But she's absolutely right. It should be HTTPS, which basically means secure. Here's more, right? Try to give a false sense of urgency. Response required. Actual sender not from company. How do you know that person, once you hover over it, isn't from the company? It's from an Outlook.com, which is just like a Google email. Often vaguely worded or with bad grammar and spelling. And hover over links to see actual URL. So I can take a URL and I can go into Word and say, make that say, I don't know, make it say quarter 129. Now that URL might not take me to quarter 129, but I can make it say that, so I can embed it into an email and it says quarter 129. But if I hover over it, it's going to tell me this is what the true URL is. And if you read it, it might say, well, that's not where I thought that would take me, which is why you go external to the email. You go to a Google or Yahoo or whatever, or Edge or Safari, whatever you're using, and type in what you think the URL should be. And that's going to help prevent you from clicking on URLs that are not proper, that are criminal, is what they are. This one's false sense of urgency. Hover over the email, right? You are eligible for a refund. IRS is never going to send you this. After the last annual calculations of your fiscal activity, we have determined that you are eligible. Sounds enticing. If I don't know that the IRS is never going to send this to me, it looks like the IRS. So you hit that without hovering over it, which would show you where it's really going to go. Then you're going to be in a world of hurt. This came from CBS News, by the way. Third round of economics. So false sense of urgency, hover over the email. As I said, IRS warning, fake email. This goes around tax season all the time, right? So you've got to be very cautious. IRS isn't going to do this to you. They're going to send letters. That's what they do. They don't send you emails telling you to click here and get money. They don't make it that easy. So be cautious. The address bar. The address bar of your browser is one of the most important tools at your disposal, right? When trying to identify a fake website. The URL listed in the address bar may look genuine, but it's crucial that you always look at it a little closer. As I was pointing out, the misspellings, the fact that you can hover over it and see what it really says. You're not going to do this like, I'm not trying to slow down your productivity to say, oh my God, I get 50,000 emails a day and I got to do this with everything. No, you have to do this with the suspicious emails, with the ones that just don't make sense, with the ones that are urgent, with the ones that are asking for information or asking you to move money or things like that, right? The nature of the email should identify to you, hey, I got to check this. It might be right, might be real. I don't know. But these are the tools that you're going to need to look at to make sure that is that trusted? Is it real? Is it what we're trying to get to, right? Check the grammar and too many ads. Online ads are parcel of life now. However, if a website has too many ads, this can be a sign of fake or scam websites. Some websites use ads to pay for the website. I get that. But if you go to a website that you think is real because somebody saw something on Instagram or something and said, oh, check this out. I bought these plates from Instagram, and they send you the link and the link isn't right or real, you could be in a world of hurt. So be cautious. They are going to get your money or they're going to get your personal information. It's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when, right? You've got to be cautious on that. Again, just simple or a sample of fake emails, right? You know, it's just that you've got to look at this. See the S that Allison was pointing out? There's nothing here. This looks like a fake email, which it is. Said that, right? So that's why that part of it's important. If it doesn't have an S, it doesn't mean it's fake, but it's something you should be cautious of, especially if you've never been to that website before, right? So you've got to be cautious of that. The URL does not begin with HTTPS. Again, going back to Allison's point. If it doesn't, this could be all scam. IRS does not belong there, right? The lib1.ir does not belong there because it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't say anything. No one's going to have a URL that's gibberish like that. They're just not. The importance of training. Training is required. Right? It's required because it's the only way you're going to stay ahead of the criminals or at least understand what they're doing. They are training every day. It is an industry. You think, oh, this is some kid in the basement of his grandmother's house doing this. And yes, there are some of those. But it's a full industry of people that go to high-rise buildings, all dressed properly, and go to work every day to try to trick you and get your money. Why? Because it produced $11 trillion in total cost last year, which a portion of that the criminals get, right? So 201 CMR 17 in Massachusetts, we talked about that. That's really where it all began as far as starting to say, hey, we got to find a way for the corporations that hold PII, personal identifiable information, of our state, in this case, New York, have responsibilities to show not only how they're protecting it, but how to prevent the breach. And with that, you need a policy called an incident response policy that tells us if there is a breach. And I'm telling you, it's not if. I wish it were if. It is not if. It's going to happen. Even if it's slightly, it's going to happen. So you have to know how to respond to that. What do we do? Do we have to call the AG's office? Do we have to tell the world? Do we have to pay? Well, it depends on what happened. But you should have a policy that says, do you call your IT guy first? Do you call a girl? Do you call your insurance person first? Do you call your lawyer first? Depending on the severity of the breach, you don't want to call your IT person first if it's a big breach. Why? Because you're going to want that lawyer client confidentiality protection. Call your lawyer first and make sure it goes through that. Now that's extreme, but it's one of the things that you have to vet out when you're doing your incident response plan. The New York Shield Act is a phenomenal act to be up to date with. Why would I have to worry about the New York Shield Act? I'm in Massachusetts. If you are a tax preparer, for instance, and you're doing taxes and you're doing a corporation and it's a pass-through corporation like an LLC or a sub-S or a partnership, and one of those partners lives in New York, guess what? You're subject to the New York Shield Act. They're not going to look at it like, well, you're not in my state. They put those laws in place for anybody who has personal information of a resident of their state. California Consumer Protection Act, very similar, very high level of regulation, but the one I think you should concentrate on is the Federal Trade Commission. If you can comply with that, which it's not that hard, you just have to know how to do it, you can be in compliance with all the others. All the other states are one step underneath the Federal Trade Commission strengthened at the Gramm-Leach-Bliley Act. And part of the reason is it just came didn't just come into existence, but the strengthening of it just happened. GDPR, if you're doing work with anybody in the European Union and you have their personal information, remember, it's not just because you're doing work there. You have to have their personal information or their protected health information, right? So I'm not trying to paint a broad brush here and say, oh, you do work in, you import trinkets from, Europe. Well, that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to comply with GDPR. Now, if you import Social Security numbers from Europe because you're doing tax returns from there, then yes, you would absolutely have to comply with the GDPR, which is a law that was in place in 1960, and they strengthened it 2, 3 years ago, and they made it almost overly strong. It goes down to even the color of your eyes. So there are personal effects in that are hard to comply with and hard to understand. And they also created the right to be forgotten. And you're going to see that more and more in regulations saying, I left that organization, or I don't work with that person anymore. I want my personal information removed. Do you have a right to request that? And the organization has the right and has to comply with it, unless there's something like a pending lawsuit for sexual harassment or whatever, then they can come back and say, until the lawsuit is completed, we are going to hold this information. They just have to be in communication with you to let you know what's going on. I believe all states have their own regulations. I don't think that's true. I thought it was. I don't think Alaska has their own regulation. I think Hawaii just came into it. And HIPAA, I haven't talked much about HIPAA. I talked about protected health insurance, information. That's HIPAA, right? Um, that's a law that you may have to comply with. You may not. If you're a dentist, yes. If you're doing billing for a medical association or a medical warehouse, yes, you have to be, right? If you're a tax preparer and one of your clients is a doctor or a dentist, good chance that you're a business associate of someone who has to comply with HIPAA, which means that you should be complying with HIPAA because in 2009, President Obama signed the HITECH Act, which said that if you are a business associate of someone that is subject to HIPAA, you can have the same fines attached to you if the breach is decided that it came from you. And those fines can be anywhere between $5,000 and $1.5 million. So just letting you know, it's worth being aware of that, right? Password manager. You should have a password manager. The day of keeping the sticky note under your keyboard should be gone, right? Or the day of having an Excel sheet with all your passwords, et cetera, and we password protect it. A criminal, just if you don't believe me, go to Google and say, how fast can I break a password in Excel? It's fast, right? They can download a little app, boom, they break it. So that's not that secure. A password manager, we use Keeper, which is a phenomenal password manager, is a way to keep all your passwords in one place. You can do autofill. We don't recommend it, but you can do autofill. Prefer if you had to take that extra step and go get the password. But we really recommend that to all of our clients. We want them using a password manager. And we want it separated into, here's the organization's passwords for my organization stuff and maybe our clients, et cetera. And then these are my personal ones that I just keep for myself. Password managers should have both sides of it, and you should get the personal side for free as long as you're part of the corporation. Keeper allows that. MFA, multi-factor authentication. Pain in the butt, isn't it? Yeah, no matter what you do, you're going to your bank. Or they're usually on your phone, or that's going to text you, or it's going to come to your email. Necessary evil. Is it? My internet is unstable. That's nice. Is it? Very cautious of what you're doing with MFA. Not very cautious. Know that if you have it, you're in a real good boat, but it can be hacked. Cybersecurity training must be taken seriously. This is what I talked about. On the lowest level, I would talk to my insurance company, Google it. I'm looking for some training, some security shorts, which is just like an article or a small video. And if you're asked for to if you're asked for PII or money, you should have a policy that says if anybody in my organization, be it just me, because I'm a one-person shop, or all 50 of us, they should know that if they're asked for that information, they had to pick up the phone or go to their manager, and that manager should pick up the phone and call the person who asked for that information. Because there's a chance that sending it and asking for it through email is not legit, and it's one of the top ways of getting hacked. So, how are we doing? This is a Bitdefender. It's one of the pieces of the stack that we use. Most insurance questionnaires will ask if you are providing training, what qualifies as training. So these are the managed endpoints. I hope I took the client. Yeah, we blocked out the client's name. And this is how they're doing. Threat breakdowns. You're going to, no matter who you use for IT, be it internal, be it yourself, or be it external, if you have a program that can identify what's happening, you're going to have threat breakdowns. You're going to have people that have been trying to attack you. They weren't successful, but they were trying, right? Because it's happening all the time. You could take a computer out of the box, brand new computer. Once you hook it to the internet, it's going to start getting attacked. So it's not that it's not happening. It's just that you're not aware that it's happening. Incident breakdown by action. Again, this is more of what we go over with our clients. I just wanted to show you some of the reports that are out there. What was blocked, 95%, and then what was deleted, malicious process killed. This is what your threat, your security stack should be doing for you, right? And you should know it. You should be able to see it. This isn't crazy expensive stuff. This is just each of those companies I showed you earlier, Norton, Malwarebytes, etc., Bitdefender, they have these, and you should just be aware of them. And it's like, I know it's one more thing to do, but at least look at them monthly, maybe quarterly, and make sure that everything's working, because it'll let you know if it's not working, right? Blocked warned websites. This is because people went to the website, and we have a certain place on there where if it's not authorized, it will be blocked, right? So we have clients that don't want their staff going to social media, or they don't want most of their staff going to social media, but they want their marketing and salespeople to be able to go to social media. And so all of that is allowed through the policies, be it you're in the cloud, be it that you're on your own workstation. We just set up the policy so that you don't have to think about it all the time. It will just block it, and you'll get noticed. You'll get notification of it, and then you can decide if you want to allow it or not at that point in time. This is from a big organization. This is 250 person company, and so it just automatically blocks. And then if they say I'm unable to get to that website, we go through why, and then we can open it up for them. Useful websites. I'm glad you're getting this PowerPoint. These are some great websites. IRS publication 45557 for guidance. It's going to explain what a written information security program is. It's going to give you the guidance on what you should be doing for training, etc. Excuse me, 5708 has a template of a WISP. Just know that you can't just download it and start using it. If you're going to download it, you need to edit it to be part of your organization, right? It can't just be, well, there it is, it's written and I have it. It's really going to be customized to your organization. It's going to take a few hours, but once it's in place, then it only has to be checked up on annually. Excuse me. Free here from the CISA, free cybersecurity resources, service, and tools. You'll get some training here. If you don't have it, at least now you can check the box that you do when you're doing it, and that should put you in a really good light with the insurance company. If you don't have cyber insurance, I don't sell cyber insurance. If you don't have it, you should. If you're talking to an outsourced IT person, they should ask you if you filled out a questionnaire for cyber security insurance, and if you have it, and they would like to see both. Why? It's going to give them insight as to what you're saying yes and no to and what is in place. And if you answered something that isn't true, we use multi-factor authentication, but you really don't, or you don't use it on everything, the insurance company can use that against you and say, yes, I understand you had a breach, but here you said you do this, and obviously you don't, so we're not paying you. And there was a hospital in, I think, Hartford, that got denied a $9 million breach. They had a $9 million breach, and the insurance company denied it. You can Google it. I try not to say anything that you can't Google, and said, no, we're not going to pay you because you answered this way. Things changed. They didn't update their answer. They just followed what last year's was, and they got denied the $9 million breach. There's also a town in Massachusetts that paid a vendor, I don't know, like $900,000 because that person got into their 365, realized how the invoices looked and created one and sent it and just changed the bank account routing number and they got paid. So it's out there. You got to be aware of it. It shouldn't stop you from doing business. It's just some things that are going to help you be more responsible of what they say best business practice, right? I know we're up against it. I just want to point out one other thing. AI is moving at light speed. Okay, it's going fast and everything has AI. Be cautious on what you're allowing yourself or your employees to use, right? Um, I won't get into everything. Just know that you should have a shadow AI policy. These are what we allow our employees to use, and these are the ones we don't, or you can't list all the ones you don't want them using, but these are the ones we allow them to use, and these are the things that they can use it with. You can't put personal identifiable information in it. We've had clients take their P&L out of QuickBooks and dump it into ChatGPT from year to year and say, analyze this. Well, that's not smart because that just went up. Eventually, that'll end up at the large language model, which is the backbone of AI. And you just don't want that information out there. So you have to have criteria around what you're allowing. I'm Conrad Martin. I'm the CEO of Tech Advisors. I didn't mean to do this to scare you. I hope it didn't. I was just trying to give you some insight as to what's out there, what you should be aware of. I'm sorry that we got started late, but we're here now. And if there are any questions or thoughts or concerns, I am more than happy to take those questions. And if there were any in the chat, I didn't look at it, so I apologize for that too.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Conrad. So much information today. I think everyone here is thrilled to have listened, and people will be probably listening to this recording as well. I think Allison may have a question. She's raising her hand.
I put it in the chat. When you said, don't put attachments on your emails, what about embedded links? So it takes
No,
them
the same. So what I'm saying is, Allison, someone sent us a link today to get into Zoom. Well, we knew it was coming and we know it was in Zoom, so that's okay. But
Right.
I don't know, but choice words. So you do something with editing or something is my guess. Okay. So
Good guess.
I've never been your client and I send you an attachment and say, hey, can you look this over for me? And you look, hey, you might be a new client. So I'm going to click on it and look it over. Don't do that. Because I could, first of all, even if I didn't do it maliciously, I could have been hacked. Right.
Right,
And the hack could
right.
be attaching that attachment to get you hacked. So that's when you have to be cautious, right? If there's a link in my email and you've never talked to me before in your life, don't click it. Just get out of it. Go to Explorer or whatever and type that number. Type it in. Don't copy and paste it. Type it in.
Right. Yeah.
And if it takes you to the site I said it was going to, now at least you know I'm legit, right?
Right. Right.
Does that answer your question?
Well, that's an attachment, but sometimes people just have a link inside the email.
Right.
to click on.
Don't click
Same
that.
deal.
Yeah,
Same
I don't want
deal.
you to click that. I want you to look
Yeah.
at it like I have to make sure that that's real,
Yeah.
and I've got to treat it just like as an attachment. So I'm going to go outside, go to a different browser, and type that in, or I'm just going to call the person. Conrad,
Yeah.
I don't know who you are. You sent me this thing to be edited, and edited. That's a good word.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
And I just want to make sure you really want me to do this. This is how I work. This is what I get charged. I'll take have
Right.
that business conversation. Don't hide behind email. Very
Sure.
easy to hide behind email. We have 22 people in my staff. They hear me all the time. Oh, did you reach out to that? Yeah, I sent them an email. To me, sending an email is not reaching out. Pick up the phone and call them. Be an
Right.
adult, right? We didn't have email before. Most of us here understand. You want to get in touch with somebody, you pick up the phone. And I understand it's easier. Well, I sent them an email. You don't hear something back in 10 minutes, then you didn't contact them. Pick up the phone and call them.
Fair. Thank you very much.
Are there any other questions? Were there any in here I should be looking at?
I don't see any others. We are a little bit over time.
I know we
So
are.
we may have to close now, but I just want to thank you so much, Conrad. Thank you again. You did a fantastic job. You will be receiving a survey, everyone who attended. Please fill that out. The programs committee loves to get your feedback. It helps us to try and decide who we would like to have as a featured speaker. You'll get that in a couple of days. And just a heads up that the next free webinar will be on Wednesday, November 5th, same time at 9:30. And that is with Jeremy Doran. The topic is setting the right goals for 2026. So Conrad, thank you again. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you all
and
very much. I appreciate the time.
Super interesting. So thank you.
Take care.
Wow.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.